So this is, in this video, we're going to record the lesson for section 11.6 homework. This time is nonlinear equations, nonlinear system of equation. So in homework, section 11.6, the problems will be nonlinear systems of equation. Now, the two comments that I want to make before we even start some examples are, first, if you have two variables, it's always better to sketch the graph of the system so you can preview the solutions. The solutions will be where the graph, the equations intersect. Then when you graph them, it gives you, the viewing of your solutions. You can locate them and it's better, and you start the solving with more confidence than if you don't know where you're going. Also, the next thing is that extraneous solution can be there sometimes, so it's also a good thing to test your solutions. I mean, to check them to make sure that these are the right solutions. So let's start with this example where you have to solve these two equations. The first one is kind of linear, but the second one is not. And if one equation is not linear, the system is automatically not linear. So this is a nonlinear equation. But the first one, if you want to write it, it's a line. So then in slope-intercept form, it's going to be y equals 3x minus plus 2. And then this one is a parabola, right? So y equals 2x squared. So you have this parabola and you have this line. Let's sketch the equation of the line first. So the y-intercept 2, slope is 3, so that means you go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you go over 1. And if you go down 1, 2, 3, then you're gonna go left another one step. So that gives me 3 points on the equation of the line, on the line. So I can sketch by connecting the dots. So that gives me the first graph of y equals, let me write the original equation, 3x minus y equals -3. And then we're going to graph the second equation, that is y equals 2x squared. So we know that this is going to pass through 0, 0, right? And if x equals 1, y equals 2. And since it's a parabola, on the other side, same distance, I can have another point as well. So that's this one, -1, 2. And then also, if x equals, say x equals 2, y will be 8, right? F equals 2, y equals 8. Guess this is going to be, make sure that I have it correct, because I believe that 8 will be on the graph. Yes, I believe it will be. So yes, I was trying to get the right points so my graph can be accurate. And then on the other side, this is that. And I think that I have enough information to sketch this graph. Let me try this better. Oh. Okay. Yes, that's better. All right, so that's f of x, that's y equals, this one is 2x squared minus y equals 0. Okay, so now you can locate your solutions. So there is a solution here. We have an idea of what it could be. And also we have a solution right here. That's x equals 2 and y equals 8. So we have two solutions. So these are the things that we're going to look for. So that said, since we have the value of y from the first equation, we can substitute it into the second. So we can get the answer for x, and for each x, we can find a y by plugging in to this equation. So we're going to substitute the y equals 3x plus 2 that we got from equation 1 into equation number 2. So that's going to be 2x squared minus the value of y, that is 3x plus 2 equals 0. So that is 2x squared minus 3x minus 2 equals 0. So if we multiply a and c, that's -4. Two numbers that multiply to give me -4 and add to give me -3, that's 1 and -4. So let me go with 2x squared minus 1x, or just x, minus 4x minus 2 equals 0. So let's factor by grouping. Let's factor this by grouping. So that is x out, so 2x minus 1, -4, that's plus 1. This is plus 1 because it was -1 and -4. Should be plus 1. And then we need to factor out, 2, because 2 is the GCF, plus here, -2. So that's, we factor out -2. So we would have 2x plus 1 here equals 0, and 2x plus 1 factor x minus 2 equals 0. We have two solutions, x equals -1/2, right? And then x equals -1/2, and x equals +2. So with that, we would find the y's by plugging into this equation here. So substitute x equals -2, -1/2, and x equals 2 into y equals 2x squared. So we got y equals negative 2 times 1 negative, is it negative 2? Positive 2 times 1/2 squared. That gives me 2 times 1/4, and then that equals 1/2. So we have a solution that is x equals 1/2 negative and y equals 1/2. Okay, we got our first solution. The second one though would be x equals 2. Substitute it into y equals 2x squared. That is y equals 2 times 2 squared equals 8. So the second solution is x equals 2, y equals 8. And your solution set for the system is the first solution comma the second solution. So that's your solution for this system, and that's pretty much what the graph we had showed. Let's try the second example here. Same thing we're gonna try to do, and this is a circle. So the center is 0, 0, and the radius is square root of 13, which is basically square root of 13. That is 3.6. 3.6, okay? So that's gonna be, let's graph it over here in the coordinate system. We got 0, 0, so that's the center here. And then 3.6 is the radius, so 1, 2, 3, closer to the 4, right? So let me put it here. And that's what we're gonna do for all these. Closer to 4. Closer to 4. And then closer to 4. Okay. So we're going to so that's wait, let me so that's the equation. That's the equation x squared plus y squared equals 13. Okay, and we're going to try to graph this one. The second one is a parabola. When we solve for y equals x squared minus 7, right? So it's going to be the parabola x squared dragged down 7 units, right? So let me draw the first one. So that's 1, 1, 1, 1 here for x equals 2. So I'm gonna graph x squared, y equals x squared, and then drag it down 7 units. So that's what I'm gonna do. So that's why you see I start with the 0, 0, and then 1, 1, 2, 4, right? That's 2, 4. On the other side, also negative 2, 4. And then also, if you want to say 3, 9, that's fine too. So x equals 3, x equals 3, y equals 9. So that's that. Then also 39. Okay. And then I'm going to try to sketch the graph here. Let me move this over and then I'll take it back when I'm done. Connect the dots. Oops. You know what? Let me do this. All right. So that, trying to do it more. Okay. Guess that's good. Okay. Let me try to see if I can change the color for this. Let me put it that. And then this is the graph of the circle. I can give it purple instead because the other one is less solid. Oh, well, actually, I haven't dragged it down yet. So let me move this over so I can drag it. This over to over the page. 7 negative. Okay, so that's this. Ooh, missed that point. Okay, so never mind. All right, so that. And then the circle here. Okay, so now I have this. I can have an idea of where the graph, and this is my parabola. That's my parabola. That is y equals, instead it's x squared minus y equals 7. So now we can see the solutions, right? That's one of them. 2, 3, and 4. We got 4 solutions. Now let's try to solve and find those 4 solutions. So let me solve for y in this equation. So we already have it solved for y. I'm going to replace y in the first equation. So x squared plus x squared minus 7 equals 13, correct? So that's squared. X squared plus x4 minus 14 x to the second minus plus 49 equals 13. Okay. And then we're going to to have a this equation in fourth degree equation. So that's x squared minus 13x squared plus 49 minus 13 equals 0. Right? So 49 minus 13 is 36. So that is x fourth minus 13x squared plus 36 equals 0. Right? So what if we, because this is a quadratic equation where the variables are raised to power 2. So if I change the variable to t squared equals x, which will give me t equals x squared, that's what I meant. And then t squared would be x squared. Then you're going to have this quadratic equation in t. Then you would need to go back and solve it for the x. So that's t squared minus 13t plus 36 equals 0. Then we can go ahead and solve by quadratic equation. So t equals b squared. So that's negative 13 plus or minus the square root of b squared is negative 13 squared minus 4ac. A is 1, c is 36 over 2 times 1. So your solutions are t equals and then t equals. We're going to go ahead and do them quickly using the calculator. So that is 13. We're going to solve them quickly using the calculator. So you have 1t that is 9 and 1t that is 4. So that obviously you could have also used factoring method too, because 9 plus 4 equals 13. You would have negative 9 plus negative 4 equals negative 13. So if the quadratic formula is faster, go ahead, do it. If the factoring form is what pops up in your head, you can also feel free to do factoring. And then now that's not the final answer, by the way. You need to go back to x. So since t equals x squared, you got x squared equals 9. And when you take the square root of x, that's x equals plus minus 3. And also t equals 4. So then you're going to have x squared equals 4. So you have x equals plus minus 2. So for basically you have those 4 x's. So you have x equals 4, 3, x equals negative 3. You got x equals negative 2 and x equals negative 2. So then you're going to make sure that you find the y for each of these x's that complete your solution. So y equals x squared minus 7. So that's 9 minus 7. You got 1y equals 2, right? So that's x. That's what x equals 3, right? So that 2, and then that's also 2 because negative 3 squared equals 9 and 9 minus 7. So you're gonna have another x equals 2 will give you y equals 4 minus 7. So that is negative 3. And then negative 3 also, because when you square negative 2, it gives you the same number 4. So then that's the solution for the system. And then if you locate the points, you would see that they are not lying unless, you know, there is some inconsistency on the graph, but that's -3, and it goes up to, well, we didn't continue this, but we feel like this will meet this line at 4, and so on. So that's your solution for the second system. Now you have 4 solutions, and you need to make sure that if you can graph, you graph, because it allows you to count your solutions and do algebra to find them. All right, so let's go to the next problem here. Same thing, we're gonna graph it and try to see how the solution, how many solutions, and then how the solution shapes. Okay, so the parabola, that's the simplest parabola that you can imagine, y equals f x squared. It passes through 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4, 3, 9. Okay. And then now you can sketch following these points. Hopefully I get them right. I don't want to do it twice. Good. Whatever I get, I'm keep it. Okay, so that's a graph for f of x, or y equals x squared. And then for this one here, so basically you're gonna have a graph like that passes through 2, -2, because I can just try to find some values. If say if x equals 0, right? If y equals 0, let me say y equals 0. Y equals 0, so then I'm gonna have x squared equals 4, right? So then I will have x equals plus minus 2. So these are the values that I get here that I just plotted. Y equals 0, x equals those values. All right, so now we need more values, obviously. Let's see if we can have, I don't know, I can get any value. Let me try to give y equals 0. I mean, we just have y equals 0. Now let's see if we see x equals 0. Or x equals any, y equals any other value. Let me say y equals square root of 3, right? For y equals square root of 3, or plus or minus square root of 3, we're gonna start with plus square root of 3, and then we did negative square root of 3. So y squared will be just 3, right? So then when we plug in y squared, that'd be x squared minus 1 equals 4, x squared equals 5. Let me say, okay, 5. And then square root of 5 would be square root of 5. Square root of 5 is 2.2. So that's 2.23. I mean, square root of 3. Square root of 3 is square root of 3 is 1.7. 1.7. So 2.2, x equals 2.2, y equals 1.7, and then we can have another that is negative 2.2, 1.7, right? And then I'll try to have some negative y, some negative value for y. But first, well, maybe they'll be the same on the other side anyways. So 2.2, 1.7. 2.2, 1.7. X equals 2.2. That's here. I mean, that's y equals 2.2. Y equals 2.2. Well, that's how I need to put it. It's y equals 2.2. Or one thing that you can also do, you can use your graphing calculator and sketch the graph, right? And find points on it. So let's try to do it on the graphing calculator instead of doing it by hand. I'm gonna pick up my graphing calculator on this screen here. Graphing calculator here, that's oh wait, where is it? Where is my graphing calculator? Here and then here. Okay. So now this is the graphing calculator. Y equals, I'm gonna try to type the first function. The first function is y equals, let me go back again to see what we have. The first one is x squared minus y squared equals 4, which is y equals plus or minus the square root of -4, or say x squared minus 4. X squared minus 4. So you just move the x squared over. It's negative x squared, but when you this negative sign you multiply by, it gives you the positive x minus 4. Okay, so x squared minus 4. All right, so now let's go back. You're not going to find a plus or minus, but what you can do is that you can type the plus first and then the minus. So let me start with the square root of x squared minus 4. And then now I'll type the negative one, so that's square root of x squared minus 4. Okay, now the last one is y equals x squared. So that's, this one is easy. So just x squared. Now let's graph it to see what we see. Well, that's what we see. And you have an idea of how the solution is going to look like, correct? Now, if you're looking at this, you see clearly that the two graphs, I mean, the reason you see these ones red and blue is because you had the plus and minus. The red means the minus and the blue is the positive. So you see positive is above the x-axis and the negative is below the x-axis on both sides. And that's the blue and red is the first function. So you see it up here. All right. It's up here. Well, that's a function up here. And then also the black one is the second equation. They don't meet. They do not have any intersection. That explains that the system will have no solution. But now let's go ahead and do the let me just screenshot this and import it into the paper, because I don't have to graph it by hand anymore. So let me go ahead and import it into the paper we're working on. So that's this, and then we have it in. All right, so go back to to the notes. Okay, so here, so did it not come? All right, so never mind. That's not the best thing that this is not what I will put it in a moment. So okay, so we have it here. Okay. Now, what we can do is that we can substitute y equals x squared into the first equation. Y equals x squared from second equation into first equation. So we got x squared minus y equals x squared. That's x squared, right? Equals 4. So that's 0 equals 4. So what do you see? This equation has no solution. So because it has no solution, then because this is not true, It's just 0 can't be -4. So no solution. But in this case, the most important thing would be to sketch the graph and see that they don't intersect. And then that will be the algebraic steps to show that this is not solution, no solution. So you have your solution set equals the empty set. All right, so next problem here. In this next problem, you're gonna do the same, but this is quite complicated as far as to solve to graph it, right? But what you can do is you can go ahead and solve it using algebra, and then you would go ahead and find the solutions and check them to make sure that you have all the solutions necessary. All right, so let's multiply equation 1 by 2 and add the result to equation 2 to eliminate one variable. Well, I mean, we just can eliminate any variable, but I feel like the variable you want to eliminate by multiplying equation 1 by 2, when you add it with equation 2, it'll be the y squared, right? So let's go ahead and do that. When you multiply equation 1 by 2, you get 2x squared. Let's see here. Okay, so before we do that, let's see if we can eliminate the variable in denominator by multiplying by x equation number 2. So we're going to write equation 1 just like it is. Equation 1 would be x squared plus x plus y squared minus 3y plus 2. That makes more sense. We can even move the plus 2 over. That makes it -2 on the other side. And we will move this one over, but we'll multiply by x, means that we're not going to have any constant. So that's going to be equation 1. And then x squared plus x plus y squared minus y equals 0. We multiplied, let me write it down, multiply 2 by x. And that assumes that x is not 0. If it was 0, then that wouldn't be okay. We wouldn't be able to factor by this. So now we have this. What can we do to eliminate one variable? And you can decide which variable you want to eliminate. But in this case, I want to eliminate x. So we would multiply, we would subtract 2 and 1. That will automatically eliminate our x. Or multiply 2 by -1 or 1 by -1. That will eliminate one of the variables. So let's subtract 2 and 1. So what does that give me? So it's like you have x squared plus x minus y squared minus 3y equals 2. And you subtract the 2, so that'd be negative x squared minus x minus y squared plus y equals 0. We just switch the signs of everything because we're subtracting it. So that cancels the x squared, that cancels the x, and that cancels the x, and then that was a plus, right? So that cancels the y squared as well. That's from equation 1, it's a plus. So that cancels the y squared. We automatically stay with -2y equals +2. -2y equals +2. So that -2y equals +2. Is it +2 actually? Well, because we moved the 2 over, that should be -2. -2y equals -2. Because it was +2 on this side. When it goes over, it turns -2, right? So here, that should be -2. And then now we can say that y equals 1. We got y, and we need x. So how do we find x? We just plug in y into one of the equations to find x. Let's plug in y right here in 2. Replace or substitute x squared. Let's substitute y equals 1 into equation number 2. So that is x squared plus x plus 1 squared minus 1 equals 0. So that's x squared plus x equals 0. X factor x plus 1 equals 0. X equals 0. X equals -1. So you would have two solutions, right? 0, x equals 0. So your solution set is x equals 0, y equals 1, and x equals 1, y equals 1. X equals -1, y equals 1. So that is your solution for this. And the next problem here, we will not bother solving it by graphing because we don't really need to, because I wasn't intended to ask you to solve by graphing anyway. So let's go ahead and solve it by substitution and elimination. All right, so let's multiply 1 by 2. In this case, this part will be gone. To eliminate y squared. Okay, now what happens? We got 6xy plus minus 4y squared equals -4, and then 9x squared plus 4y squared equals 10. The sum will cancel this. Then you have 6x y plus 9x squared equals 6, right? And then we can even divide by we can even divide by 3. We can even divide by 3. So we can get 3, and then that's 2xy plus 3x squared equals 2. If we solve this for y, then you're gonna have 3x squared on both sides subtracted. That's 2xy equals -3x squared. Divide by 2x, y equals, so that's plus 2 here. And then that's y equals -3x squared plus 2 over 2x. Now we're gonna try to substitute this equation y into one of the equations 1 and 2, but let me use 2 because 2 is less complicated and I would want to go with 2. So that's going to be 9x squared. That's 9x squared plus 4 times -3x squared plus 2 over 2x equals 2x squared equals 10. And now when you expand this, that's going to be 9x squared plus 4, or that's plus 9x squared, 9x to the 4th, 9x to the 4th minus 12x squared plus 4 over x squared. That these 2 squared cancels with the 4, so that's why I'm just left with x squared, and I'll just expand this by FOIL, the top one, top expression, and that equals 10. So what we can do here is that we can multiply both sides by x squared. So that's 9x to the 4th plus 9x to the 4th again minus 12x squared plus 4 equals 10x squared. So the part that has x squared at the bottom, you just copy it down. That's this. And then the parts that did not have x squared, you just multiply them both by the x squared. So that's what gives me that final equation. Now we're going to put them all together to create that equation. So that's 18x to the 4th minus 22x squared plus 4 equals 0. And if we divide by 2, that turns into 9x squared minus 11x x 4th. Sorry, I keep saying squared for the 4th. 11x squared plus 4 plus 2, we divide by 2, equals 0. Now we're going to solve this by the change of variable that we did earlier, or we can just factor by see if we can multiply 2 and 8. 2 and 9, that's 18. Two numbers multiply to give you 18 and add to give you negative 11. That's negative 9 and negative 2, right? And then so that's 9x to the fourth minus 9x squared minus 2x squared plus 2 equals 0. Factor out the 9x squared. So that's going to be 2, wait, that's just x squared minus 1, right? And do it again. That's negative 2 out. X squared minus 1 equals 0. X squared minus 1 times x squared minus, that's 9. That's 9x squared minus 2 equals 0. If you factor this again, then that's x minus 1, x plus 1, 9x squared minus 2. Or would you say, would you say 3x minus square root of 2? 3x plus square root of 2? Would you say that? I wouldn't mind. And then you would have equals 0. And you would have 4 solutions. X equals 1. X equals negative 1. X equals square root of 2 over 3. And x equals negative square root of 2 over 3. So these are the x's that you have. And given that you have those x's, for each you will have a y. So you just have to replace it in this equation that you had here. Let me go ahead and replace them for you. So let me bring my x's up here, and then we're going to work the solution for the y's. So when x equals, we're going to take the x separately, right? So that's x equals 1, x equals negative 1, oops. The x equals negative 1, draw a line here. That's my x equals square root of 2 over 3. And then that's my other x that we're going to work to get the answer here. So now let's go. For x equals 1, this is where we're going to replace them. We're going to have y equals negative 3 times 1 plus 2 over 2 times 1. That equals to 1, negative 1 over 2, right? So you have a solution, x equals 1, y equals negative 1/2. Right? And then let's say here, that's negative 1. So that's negative y equals negative 3 times negative 1 plus 2 over 2 times negative 1. That equals 5 over negative 2. So negative 5 over 2. So negative, it's 5 over negative 5 over 2 is my second solution. Say again. Negative 3 times so that's x equals negative 1 Oh, that's x is squared. Sorry. So yeah, it's still going to be -1/2. Because it's -3x squared. I was using -3x. So it's -3x squared. So that's -1/2. That's +1/2, actually. So the second solution is x equals -1/2, x equals -1, y equals 1/2. All right, so next, same thing here. We're going to replace into y equals -3, y equals -3 times square root of 2/3 squared plus 2 times square root of 3/2/3. Okay, so that is y equals, I'm just going to give you the answer for that. Square root of 3/3, that is automatically going to be square root of 2, right? See if we can do the steps instead, because I know some of you may ask, how did you find it? Well, so we cancel this 3, that's negative. We cancel the 3. Oh, nope, we should square it first. So that equals -3 times 2/9 plus 2/2 square root of 2/3, right? So we can cancel the 3, that's -2/3. -2/3 plus the top is -2. I guess this one needs to go lower, more further down, because we're gonna need more room. So that is y equals -2/3 plus 2 over 2 over square root of 2 square root of 2/3. Okay, now this is, the top part is 6 minus 2/3. That's 4 minus 2. 6 minus 2, that's 4/3 over 2 square root of 2/3. So 3 gone. That equals 4 over 2 square root of 2. If we multiply by square root of 2, then that is going to be 4 square root of 2 over, that's 2 times square root of 2 times square root of 2, that's 2. So that's 4. And then 4 gets canceled. Then you got y equals square root of 2. We have a point that is x equals square root of 2/3. And then y equals square root of 2. And then the last point, I'm going to leave you with the work. I'm going to go with the first step and then you finish it. That's y equals negative square root of 3 or 2 over 3. That's 3 on the outside squared. And then plus 2 over 2 times square root of 2/3. Finish it. Your solution would be negative. That's a negative here. The negative square root of 3. Show your steps and find y equals negative square root of 2. So you have the other solution, that is x equals negative square root of 2 over 3 and negative square root of 2. Negative square root of 2. So your solution for the system is all the solutions we found. 1 negative 1/2. That's negative 1 1/2. We have square root of 2 over 3, square root of 2. And we have negative square root of 2 over 3 and negative square root of 2. So these are the solutions, or that's the solution set of the system of nonlinear equation we have here. Okay, so we have enough practices on solving nonlinear system of equation in two variables.